Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that flips a common assumption on its head. We often hear the phrase, money talks. And in the legal world, it's easy to believe that hiring the most expensive, high-powered legal team is a guaranteed ticket to victory. But is that always the case? What happens when deep pockets and a so-called dream team of lawyers aren't enough? Today, we're exploring some incredible stories where the underdog came out on top, and even the most formidable legal giants learned a very expensive, very public lesson. These aren't just courtroom dramas. They're powerful reminders that sometimes the facts, the law, and a bit of good old-fashioned justice can triumph over wealth and influence. So, grab your popcorn, because these cases are truly stranger than fiction. Let's start with a story that many of you might remember, a case that became a global media sensation, the defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. On paper, this looked like a classic David versus Goliath scenario, but the roles were a bit blurred. Both sides had immense resources and top-tier legal representation. It was a clash of titans, with millions of dollars poured into assembling legal dream teams. The world watched as every detail of their tumultuous relationship was scrutinized in court. What makes this case so interesting for our discussion is how it demonstrates that public opinion and jury perception can be just as powerful, if not more so, than the legal firepower you bring to the table. Depp's team, led by Camille Vasquez and Ben Chu, managed to craft a narrative that resonated deeply with the jury and the public. In the end, despite both sides having seemingly unlimited funds, the jury largely sided with Depp. Think about the epic patent wars that have raged between tech giants like Apple and Samsung. For years, these two companies were locked in a global legal battle over smartphone technology. Both are corporate behemoths with legal departments and external counsel that command astronomical fees. They threw everything they had at each other, filing lawsuits in dozens of countries. You'd think with all that money and brainpower, one side would eventually secure a decisive, crushing victory. But what actually happened was far more complex. While Apple won some significant verdicts, particularly in the US, Samsung fought back and won its own battles elsewhere. The result wasn't a clean knockout, but a long, drawn-out war of attrition that cost both companies hundreds of millions, if not billions, in legal fees. Eventually, they settled most of their disputes outside of the US. This saga teaches us that when two equally matched financial giants go head-to-head, money doesn't create a clear winner. Instead, it can lead to a stalemate, where the only real winners are the lawyers billing by the hour. It shows that even the most expensive legal teams can't always guarantee a clean win, especially when the fight is against an opponent with equally deep pockets. Let's switch gears and talk about a case that truly embodies the spirit of the underdog. This is the story of Erin Brockovich. Many of you have probably seen the movie starring Julia Roberts, but the real story is even more inspiring. They were up against PG&E's army of high-priced corporate lawyers who did everything they could to dismiss the claims and intimidate the plaintiffs. It was a classic Goliath setup. But Brockovich and her team had something more powerful than money: the truth and undeniable evidence of the harm caused. They had the personal stories of families who were suffering. The case culminated in a landmark settlement of $333 million in 1996, the largest of its kind at the time. This story is the ultimate proof that a dedicated, passionate team with a just cause can defeat a corporate giant. It wasn't about having the most expensive lawyers, it was about having the strongest case. Now let's explore a different angle. Criminal law. The O.J. Simpson trial is perhaps the most famous example of a dream team of lawyers securing a controversial acquittal. But what happens when the tables are turned, and even a top-dollar defense can't overcome the evidence? Consider the case of Martin Shkreli, infamous pharma bro. Shkreli became a public villain for raising the price of a life-saving drug by over 5,000%. But it was for securities fraud, unrelated to the drug pricing, that he ended up in federal court. Shkreli was a wealthy man and hired a team of highly regarded attorneys, including Benjamin Brafman, who has represented celebrities and high-profile figures. Brafman and his team mounted a vigorous defense. They argued that Shkreli's investors, in the end, actually made money, so no real harm was done. It was a clever legal argument backed by a very expensive legal team. However, the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence showing Shkreli's intent to deceive and defraud. Whistleblowers came forward. Secret internal documents were leaked, revealing that these companies knew about the dangers of their products for decades and intentionally misled the public. This evidence was a game-changer. State attorneys general banded together and class-action lawsuits were filed on behalf of millions of smokers. Despite the tobacco industry's continued use of top-tier legal firms, the tide had turned. The evidence was irrefutable. This led to the historic Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement in 1998, where the largest tobacco companies agreed to pay hundreds of billions of dollars and change their marketing practices forever. This wasn't a single court case, but a massive legal war where, eventually, the truth, backed by a mountain of evidence, broke through the wall of money and denial that Big Tobacco had built. It proved that no entity, no matter how wealthy or powerful, is above the law when the evidence against them is undeniable. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? It's that the legal system, for all its flaws, isn't always just for sale. While having money for good legal representation is undoubtedly an advantage, it's not a magic wand. Juries are made up of people who respond to stories, to credibility, and to clear, hard facts. A lawyer's job is to present those facts in the most persuasive way possible, but they can't invent them. Cases like Aaron Brockovich show us that passion and truth can be more powerful than a corporate checkbook. The tech patent wars show us that money versus money can just lead to a costly tie. And the trials of figures like Martin Shkreli demonstrate that no matter how brilliant your lawyer is, they can't argue away a mountain of incriminating evidence. These stories are a testament to the idea that at its core, the legal system is supposed to be about justice. And sometimes, against all odds, it actually delivers. It's a reminder that a well-prepared case, undeniable evidence, and a compelling, truthful narrative can be the great equalizers in a courtroom, proving that sometimes, just sometimes, money fails. Thanks for sticking with me through these incredible legal showdowns. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. You know of any other cases where the underdog triumphed against a legal giant? Share them with us. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.